Hello. I usually would have somebody else to say something directly after me, but I don't right now. So just me. Hello. I knew my channel name would come in handy at some point, and now it has. Um, so, hi, friends. So far, I know that Ruby and Bailey are in the chat, and that neither of you read the Magic Treehouse books for this month. So, I don't know how much we'll have to discuss. Especially if no one shows up who's also read the Magic Treehouse books. But that's okay. I can talk about the Magic Treehouse books. I can do so with or without spoilers. So give me your preferences. But hello. Okay, I guess the important news is that I did read the Magic Treehouse books, and I seem to be alone. So we're gonna do spoilers. Danielle, you did read the Magic Treehouse books, though, right? Didn't you love them this month? It's okay if you're here in secret. I just want to know I'm not alone. Okay. Well, Danielle and I read the Magic Treehouse books, and I'll tell you all about them. So first, I'd love to know what you think your rating would have been if you read A Big Day for Baseball. Because personally, as somebody who did read it, I gave it 3 stars. I'm just not a big sports girly. Downloaded them on my Kindle and then was talking to Abby for the last half hour instead of reading them. Fair. Thanks, Danielle. You've got me. At the time today, someone should have yelled at me. I didn't know I'd need to remind you. Predicted rating 5 stars. I hope it doesn't let you down. Please tell me once you do read it. I think it would have 2 or 3 starred baseball. Not a big sports girly. Danielle gave it 5 stars and loves baseball. 0 stars for baseball. I'm just, yeah. Ruby has a personal vendetta against baseball as a sport nowadays, and I respect her for it. But I'll return to this comment about the hurricane in a minute. So I gave A Big Day for Baseball 3 stars, and it starts kind of silly, goofy, talking about baseball tryouts IRL, and apparently Jack had a little flub. If I'm remembering correctly, did Jack throw the baseball bat on accident when he was trying to swing? I fully don't remember now. I just know that he did something silly, proving he is not athletic TM, and further proving that Jack and I are the same person. So I appreciated that from him, his candor, and it was a slice of their IRL life, which I know sometimes we're looking for. Like, we didn't go to baseball trials with them, but we heard about it. And that even came up in the next book too. Like, they talked about baseball practice in the next one. So, sports. I'm excited to get to the Merlin missions. They are a little meatier. That is accurate. But these last few original Magic Treehouse books are newer than the Merlin missions, which is interesting. I did cackle quite a bit when they were throwing the magic hat back and forth. That was a good scene. Can't wait to see Jack trying to play baseball. Yeah. So then I wrote twins with 3 exclamation points because there's a set of twins in this book, which was exciting to me. Have we had twins in previous Magic Treehouse books? I feel like maybe we have. We've at least had other siblings, because I know in High Tide in Hawaii, there were siblings. But I'm not sure that we've had twins yet. But that made my day. And then I said, fun fact, I'm pretty sure a baseball game was the first professional sporting stadium/game I'd ever been to. I had a field trip to the Kansas City Royals when I was in preschool. And my family may or may not still have the little fold-out seat, the Kansas City Royals fold-out seat. So, yeah. Yeah, not these twins, but I respect it. OMG, when Jack also got so mad, the audience was booing him, but they were booing Jackie, and he was like, the F. There was some interesting, I don't remember that, to be honest with you, Danielle. And that was my second to last note about my first professional sporting event. My last note was, listen, I just don't care about sports, and the magic of the hats was weird here, IDK. Because they had a magic hat, and like every time they put it on, people thought they were like, was it the bat? Are they Bat Boys? They Bat Boys? They were doing something for the Dodgers. And this was how they got around the fact that once again, Annie is a girl in a non-girl space. So whenever she wore the magical baseball cap, they were like, yeah, you're definitely a dude and you work here. So that was the magic hat. And I just felt like it was weird because I feel like they've never had a magical item like this before. So it just kind of felt out of place. It just felt out of place. But yeah, the big picture was like they went back in time with this magical baseball hat, and they went to Jackie Robinson's first professional game with the Dodgers. And they met a nice family. That was the book. It was obviously like a really important historical event. And if you're going to write about sports, I'd rather you write about someone like Jackie Robinson than other sports. But it just wasn't my flavor. I really wish I had someone to bounce off of here. They did have a rhyme, and they needed to give an object to someone. That's pretty magic. That's a pretty typical Magic Treehouse setup, I feel like. Yeah, they have a magic item. This is why I said the hats were weird. I feel like it wasn't a thing they had done before, and then they did it. And I wish that she hadn't, especially because, well, I guess she does in the next one. The next book also has a magical item, but it is not as weird. The magical hats were weird. They were also given a blank baseball that they needed to give to the twins' grandma, and it was a signed baseball. Yes. You didn't fail me, Bailey. I failed myself. I wish I remembered this book better than I do, but I read it, I think, like a couple weeks ago now. So, and I took terrible notes because I was not focused while I was listening to it. In fact, I was probably playing a virtual farming simulator while I was listening to it. Either that or I was doing laundry or something. So just memory not good for it. Why do we talk about hurricanes? Hurricanes I can talk about a lot more. I have personal experience with hurricanes. And so, I related to some of the things in Hurricane Heroes in Texas. Ruby already guessed that she would rate it a 2 and said she was sick of the natural disasters. I totally agree with that. But I think we're almost at the end of the types of natural disasters one can experience in a lifetime. So hopefully we're always so hopefully we're almost there. I gave it a 3.5. What do you predict you would have given it? Also, Danielle, you cried during it, but did you give it a 5 star? Yes, this is blasphemy. I feel like maybe a 3. Danielle gave it 5 stars. Predicted rating 2.5. Great question. You guys are nuts. Danielle just really, really loved the books from this month, and it makes me happy to hear it. So let's talk about this book that made Danielle cry. shall we? I said, wild that this hurricane was far deadlier than Hurricane Katrina, and yet I've never heard of it in my life. And that's on the US educational system and history. We just don't learn about these things. Sad emoji. So yeah, this was a real hurricane. They tend to look into real things. In Galveston, Texas, the deadliest natural disaster in the United States still to this day. And I'd never heard of it before. Had you heard about this before, or was I the only like fool out here who had never heard of it? I don't know. And then I said, yet again, sending these kids to watch people die, SMH, which goes to back to what Ruby said earlier, where, let me find it. Ying, 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 ying. I wish these kiddos would stop almost dying in traumatic ways. And this one in particular, I feel like they were very actively in danger the whole time. Kind of along the lines of how they were in the volcano book, and I guess the tsunami book too. And I guess in the earthquake one, they were in danger. And the Titanic was like actively sinking while they were on it. But this one was no different. And they were actively in danger the whole time. I don't know about hurricanes at all except Katrina. Because you're not a Florida girly. I had heard of it because there's a book about it that I saw when I was looking for non-fic ideas for this round. I listened to somebody on YouTube read it, and they did not read me the preface. So that's rude of them. And Mary was like, sad face. Okay, so in this one, they go back in time and they're given this magical necklace, and they're told, like, you'll need to bring light somewhere, darkness, blah, blah, blah. So they go back in time and they're like, wow, this is Texas. And then they're like, there's a storm a brewing. And so they go and they try to tell everybody, like, get to higher ground, because like the weather system was not as it is now. And so people didn't think it was coming to hit them. They were like, oh, that storm? No. People told us it wouldn't hit us. But they know from their history textbook, they're like, this hurricane is headed here. Right now, it's about to go down. So they're telling people, like, get to higher ground. And everybody is like, you silly little kids, there's nothing to worry about. And they were wrong. And all those people died. So they find this one house with this lady who's singing a lullaby to her baby. She's singing the, like, hush little baby, don't make a sound, mama's gonna whatever, that lullaby, which is what Danielle is referencing here. And I did write a note about that. Did I just delete my notes? No. Okay, thank God. I was going to have a conniption. I did say there are a million lullabies better than this one. And I stand by that fact. It's true that, like, kids living through these historical events must come out of it with so much trauma. And Mary's like, yeah, these kids can handle living through all of them in a row. Yes, it's very 2020. Jack and Annie do know everything. So they meet this woman, and then the hurricane, like, really starts. And they're with this woman, and her husband isn't home from work, so it's her and her, like, newborn baby. And they get on a raft because, like, the house is falling apart around them. The wind's tearing it up. They get on this raft. Is it a door? I don't remember. They're on a raft, and Jack falls asleep. So as I said here, you ever fall asleep in the middle of a hurricane? Jack has. And by that, I don't mean there's a hurricane outside and you're safely inside and you're sleeping, because I've done that plenty. I mean, have you ever been on a raft in the middle of an active hurricane and fallen asleep? Because Jack has. And I respected him for it. I didn't approve of it, but I did respect him for it. There was also a line, and this is very important because it brings up the debate that we've had multiple times in the course of this read along about whether or not they're traveling into books or through time. And in this one, when all the adults are like, you silly kids, rascals, Jack and Annie are like, well, maybe they'd believe us if we showed them the book. But then Jack is like, we can't show them a book from the future. And so it is time travel. And Jack and Annie know it too, because they can't show this book from the future to these people. Floating on roof drifting, gotta catch some Z's. That's Jack. Jack all the way. Okay, so they're floating through the hurricane, and then they see something, and they find, is it a church? It's something with nuns in it. Danielle, help me out here. And they go inside, and the lady who runs the place is like, thank goodness you saw us. Like, people are having trouble seeing us, but we're a safe place from the storm. So then they're safe, but nobody else can find this place. They go and they help this woman out who is probably like a real historical figure, helping people who get in there from the storm. It's the Sisters of Charity Orphanage. Thank you. And then Jack and Annie say like, oh, you remind us of our good friend. And they're talking about like Morgan Le Fay. And I said, don't compare this nice, responsible hero to Morgan Le Fay, who just sent you into a hurricane. So that's on that. They still honor the 10 nuns and 90 orphans that died, but they saved a ton of people. So thanks to the Sisters of Charity Orphanage. Okay, so they help people out, and then they use their magical necklace to create a light to help people find the orphanage so that they can be safe, which was wacky, but not nearly as wacky as the magical hats thing. I don't know why Mary Pope Osborne stopped writing the original series, wrote all the Merlin missions, came back to the original series, and was like, now they have magical objects with them. That was weird to me. And I can't remember the Merlin missions correctly now. I guess we'll find out when we read them. They might have magical items then, and she could have just forgotten that she had never before included magical items in a regular Magic Treehouse book. But I don't know. Danielle liked the necklace and really wants one. Yeah, they were like, Mary's responsible just like Morgan. And I was like, kids, you've seen some responsible adults in your time travels, but Morgan Le Fay is not one of them. Okay, so then after the storm, they go back to the treehouse, and the treehouse is absolutely ruined. And I wrote in all caps, not the heckin' treehouse, because that's how I felt. And I knew that it would probably be fine once they traveled back in time, but I mean, it was like demolished. And they were like, how are we gonna get back? But they did manage to find the Pennsylvania book, and they say like, I wish we could go there. Nothing happens. Crickets. You know, I'm like, is she really gonna strand them in Galveston after all these people died in a hurricane? Wild. But then Annie yells it, and then it works. So I said the treehouse couldn't hear Annie, so she had to yell. Oh yeah, I totally forgot to mention. This guy shows up at the orphanage, and it happens to be the lady's husband, the lady with the baby that was on the roof with them. So I kind of wish they had gotten stuck. I know that's not really the vibe of the Magic Treehouse series, but I feel like it would have been interesting. But no, we didn't do that. So that's what happened in the Hurricane book. I don't know. It was surprising to me in some ways, because even though the weather system is not the same, you can generally tell like the weather's not good before a hurricane. Hurricane usually takes some time to move in. I guess these people, like, they knew there was a storm, but they were told it wouldn't hit them directly, so they weren't worried about it. So I guess the weather was still gross, but they didn't think anything of it. But that was just something that I had like in the back of my mind the whole time, is that like generally a day or two before the hurricane hits, you're like, it's not so pretty out here. But that's just from my personal experience with hurricanes, which of course, nothing like the degree of this hurricane, and may it never be. But that was that book. And can we get a roll call? Who here read the chimpanzees book? It took a turn toward them, and the storm surge was big. People were surfing and enjoying the waves before, and suddenly there was a lot of water. Yes, it was kind of like a repeat of the tsunami in a way. Storm surge, tsunami, technically a little different, but okay. Ruby read Chimpanzees. Lizzie read half of it. Danielle read it and gave it 5 stars. She was on a roll this month. I don't know what was in the water. And then Bailey read Chimpanzees. What were your ratings for this book? And Lizzie, you can give me like at 50%, I felt like it would be this rating type thing. I gave it 4 stars. So I'm interested to hear what you all have to say about it. I would hope you had a great time. You're 5-starring these books all over the place. Okay, 2.5 stars from Bailey. This was Danielle's month, but it was maybe not anyone else's, and that's okay. Ruby, I'll be curious to know what you gave it. Beverage intermission. For the audio, 1.5 or 2. If I'd eyeball read it, probably a little higher. I didn't rate it because I was like, this is not for me. I didn't know it was a children's book. Fair. I was considering a 4, but tried to put myself in 12-year-old me mind, and I would have eaten it up. Fair. This book, the first half of it for me, I was feeling 5 stars. I was feeling this is a great kids nonfiction book. I'm alive. And I was so interested because Jane Goodall has been doing this work since before I was born. And like to read about the experience of doing this work when other people had never done this work before, like when she was saying some of the things that they didn't know about chimpanzees before she started her work and like apes in general, it was so fascinating because those are the types of things that I've known about them my whole life. Monkeys are my favorite animals. And so through that, you also tend to learn about apes of all kinds. The library doesn't separate those things very well. Fun fact, Curious George, even though we call him a monkey, he doesn't have a tail. He's an ape. That's on that. I thought it was oversimplified and came off preachy. The audio sound effects were too much. I eyeball read it, so I didn't have this issue. Plus, I got to see pictures, which was nice. When do my tastes ever align? If anything, this just makes more sense than I'm the only one who enjoyed it. I gave it a 4. I enjoyed it. I thought it was outdated. Fair. The sound effects were hecking insane. Okay, everybody who enjoyed this book read it with their eyeballs. Jane really got preachy. I would have been super interested in an adult memoir. They didn't know. It was so cool. I agree. Personally, I agree a lot with Jane's views, so I guess preachy for me, I was like, hell yeah. I can't express to you the level of bizarre and sound effects. I wish I could. Okay, one person read it with their eyeballs and didn't like it, but the rest of us who read it with their eyeballs enjoyed it. It is a little outdated. It was hard when we were trying to find a Jane Goodall book for this. There wasn't like an adult equivalent of this, I don't think. Like she has other books, but a lot of it's not about her work directly. Like she's one about perseverance, which like interesting, I guess, but not really what I'm here to hear Jane Goodall talk about. So that's one of the reasons why we picked this one. Yeah, it was simple, but I liked it. And I just got an email that one of my final papers was graded, but I'm not going to look at that right now. And anyway, I do think, though, the reason it was 4 stars for me and not 5 was because the second half, it got a bit repetitive and also lost the narrative thread. Like, in the beginning, I felt like she was telling a cohesive story, and then she stopped doing that, and I was like, eh. And so then it just got to be a lot. You know it's not going to be a 5-star from me, even from the perspective of a 12-year-old me, if 3/4 of the way through, I feel like she's not saying anything new for this last quarter, and 200 pages feels long because it's not long. So for that ending to feel long was a little, yeah. But the first half was like a 5-star to me, and that's why it's a 4 instead of like 3.5 or 3. I don't like this, and I'm glad I didn't read it with my ears. The animal sounds and the fire crackling, eating and crunching leaves. Is this an ASMR podcast? And then we drove away. Vroom, vroom. That's so funny. I'm sorry you all had this experience. I'm sorry to put you through it, but thanks for reading it and talking about it with me. Is there anything in it that was like interesting to you? Anything you didn't know about or were like more interested in than the sound effects? When she talked about putting her son in a cage, that reminds me that one of the pictures I took a screenshot of, it's the picture of Jane Goodall and her son. And I feel like he looks like a particular celebrity, but I can't place who it is at all. So I'm going to show you the picture for those of you who didn't get to see it, and you tell me if I'm crazy. But okay, there's Jane Goodall and her son. Somebody please tell me, what celebrity does he look like? It might be like a modern celebrity who looks like this now or something. It might not be. But I swear I've seen somebody that looks like this. And I want to know who the heck I was thinking about. Because I was like, that's Jane Goodall's son. First of all, I don't see the resemblance, but he just reminded me of something. I don't think this is it because I have never seen that, and I don't know what that is. I couldn't pay attention to the actual words. No. I do think learning animals have personalities and feeling was good. Yes. Okay, James Vanderbeek. Let me look this up. I'm looking this dude up, and if he looks like Jane Goodall's son, I'm gonna lose it. I can't spell. Vanderbeek. Okay. Are you talking about like this photo of him? I can see that. They have similarities for sure. Like there. Yeah, I guess. No. He does not look like Niall. And Ruby, I don't know what's wrong with you. Here, let me pull up a picture of Niall Horan and Niall Horan blonde, because now his hair isn't blonde anymore. Okay, so like that's Niall Horan. I might see your point, Ruby. Where did it go? No, I don't see your point. That's Jane Goodall's son. Right? Niall Horan, Jane Goodall's son. I don't think. General British. I think I'm right. Well, Niall is not British. He's from Ireland. So it could just be the 90s hair. I think that definitely contributes. There's something about his eyes for me that makes him familiar. I know I've gone on a tangent about how Jane Goodall's son looks like somebody and I can't pinpoint it. His hair does look like that one person's, but It's something about his eyes that feel familiar. I think all white men look the same, so I can't contribute to this conversation. That's totally fair. But respect. This was the funniest. This was the funniest thing that's happened all day. That could not be the same guy, Ruby. I disagree wholeheartedly. They don't look anything alike. In my humble opinion. But maybe that's just me. Can anybody else tell me, do you side with Ruby or do you side with me? Does Jane Goodall's son look like Niall or not? I think not. Ruby says yes. So please vote. This is akin to our should Danielle bleach Nick's hair poll. And I hope you'll side with me, just like you did then. I'm waiting. I've never seen them in the same room, to be fair. Yeah, because their ages are vastly different. I say yes. Well, I'm ignoring you because of this comment. I want Bailey's opinion. Bailey, give me some opinion. What? What'd I do? Also, while we're here, let me just remind you that we're reading 4 Magic Treehouse books in the month of May. Or at least I am. Maybe nobody else is, but I will read them. And I'll tell you what they are right now. Okay, I won't ask you about Niall Horan then. Later. I will later. He looks like such an average white man now. Fair. Okay, May. Warriors in Winter, To the Future Ben Franklin, Narwhal on a Sunny Night, and Late Lunch with Llamas. So I don't think there's a single natural disaster in there for us. It really is bad for me that these ones don't come bundled in one audiobook. I'm so sorry, Ruby. I hope you can find it in your heart to join us for the next 4. It's okay if you can't. Good. This is not what I wanted to click. I don't want to be rid of you. I'm glad you're here. Narwhal is super exciting. I'm excited about that. More animals. We like the animal ones better than the natural disaster ones. Probably. I think as a group, except that the natural disaster ones almost always make Danielle cry. And yet she loved didn't you love the Amazon rainforest one? I think Danielle just loves Magic Treehouse. I'll do it for the animals. Heck yes, you will. So, okay, I'm waiting for one more interesting thing. I'm so sorry you'll just had to listen to me talk this time. I'm not that interesting, and I clearly didn't remember these books that well. I'm waiting for Danielle's interesting thing. So, trying to pass the time. This was fun. I'm a fan. Not of Magic Treehouse because you didn't read them. What's your narwhal story? Okay. Did Jane talk at the end talked about what? Jane, let me try again. Jane at the end talked about how they started that conservation area, and I looked it up, and it's grown from that small area to include several islands where chimps get to vibe. Nice. I love that. Well, don't read them right now because, oh, you mean these ones, the ones you're going to read? Yeah, you can read them right now. I was going to say don't read the next 4 right now because then you won't remember them for the live show. But Lizzie, this is why we shouldn't save them for 30 minutes before the live show. Just kidding, you know I love you. Okay, well, that's all for me. So unless anybody else has any parting thoughts, love you. Thanks for being here. I'll see you later on Lizzie's birthday reading sprints. Bye.